Hey, greetings YouTube, Captain Machine here, back for another video. And I've just been seeing the couple of YouTubers talking about where everyone is, and I'm still here. The reason why I've not been posting recently is that basically a lot of things have been happening in my life in a very short space of time. And I'm actually getting keys to the new house on, not tomorrow, but the day after. So I should start moving into my new house next week. So the idea is new studio, well, new room I call it studio, new format, new timetable, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. But until then, to keep you guys entertained, because basically that's what I like to do, what I'm going to do is give you a couple of short stories about how I got into role-playing and how I encountered certain things. And I can't remember if I've done this before. I think I've anecdotally mentioned this a couple of times, but not in a great deal. I'm going to go into it full swing. Basically, my introduction to role-playing was actually not a role-playing game. It was a board game. Now, this board game was called Heroes Quest. Heroes Quest is a fantastic board game. If you can ever find a copy of it secondhand, I highly, highly recommend you pick it up. Advanced Hero Quest is pretty good, but it doesn't have the same magic. It's not as complete as Hero Quest is itself. So, if you can find Hero Quest, pick it up. If you see it on an App Store or on a video game or anything like that, download it, play it. It's so much fun. But from there, me and my friends used to play what we called the It game. I don't understand where the name came from either. But basically, it was LARPing, for lack of a better term. The idea was that with this big driveway, and what we'd do is we pretend to be different, like, archetypes. So one would be a wizard, one would be like a warrior, one might be like a rogue or something like that. Although I think we called them thieves back then because that's what AD&D did. This is around about the same time we were playing Eye Beholder on the Amiga. And you'd have, like, say, 3 or 4 people who were the good guys, as it were. And then you'd have like 2, 3, maybe 4 people as the bad guys. And you have one person who effectively was the GM, but we didn't realise at the time that this person was basically setting the story. And it was great because we didn't have any swords or anything. It was just like, pretend fighty acting with no weapons at all to speak of. We never used sticks or swords or anything like that. It was all in the head. And to this day, I'm still amazed that we did something like that without prompting, without any sort of precedent for that. Because that was role playing at its purest form, and we were what, 12, 13 when we started doing that. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then I think one year, one of the arts projects we got given as a class was everyone had to draw their own heraldry and their own shield for our medieval history thing. And basically at the end of the year, when the art assets were getting thrown out, we gathered them up and we took them and we used them as shields. A little piece of cardboard, and we glued a little piece of cardboard on the back too, turned into handles, so we had something to hold them with. Now, the swords themselves were still imaginary, but the shields were real. And they were really nicely painted sometimes. Well, we thought they were anyway, because we were like 12 and 13, and 12 and 13-year-olds are shit painters. But you don't tell them that. You don't want to crush their dreams. From there, I went into third year middle school. I call it middle school. I know that it's not actually the proper name, but that's what I've always called it, and I always will call it that. And I bumped into Mr. Padfield. Mr. Padfield was the best teacher I ever had. Because he recognised my desire to create something. And he said to me one day, he says, "Neil, if I give you a piece of paper and a pencil, you'll just keep drawing until you fill that piece of paper up." Which is true, because he actually gave me a piece of paper that was about 2 metres long. Because it was just this roll of paper that he had. It was like A4 in height, but it was like 2 metres long. He said, "Here, play with that." And over the course of maybe a week or two, I filled it. I completely filled it. I did this really cool battle sequence with like robots walking down the street towards each other. So yeah, he recognised the artistic side of me and let me use it. It was pretty cool. And then with like a little hangout area between the two classes. You'd have the class here and a class there, and you have a middle bit where the crafts material was and such, and also because of the position of where the classes were, because they're on the top floor, whereas everything else was on the ground floor. There was also like a mini library in the middle with a reading section, and I'd spend ages reading there. Not a lot, mind you. I mean, I was very young, so I didn't read a lot, and what I did read was like dinosaur books and stuff like that. But here's a great thing you see. This Padfoot came up to me with a book and said, "This is my son's book," and he basically donated this to the school. And I reckon you might like this, Neil. And he gave me Forest of Doom by Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone. Forest of Doom is amazing, absolutely amazing book. If I still had it now, I probably would read it yearly. It's my introduction to Final Fantasy. I know for some people it was Sea of Thieves, for some people it was Walk on a Firetop Mountain, for some people it was other stories in that whole range. For me, it was Forest of Doom. Now, Forest of Doom was amazing because not only did it prompt me to start mapping the encounters, which developed me to some kind of a shorthand style of actually mapping, which I took onto this very day in role playing. One moment. Sorry about it. Coming down with a bit of a cold. But it was a great exercise in game writing in terms of understanding what they'd done, because this is a spoiler for anyone that hasn't played or read, wherever you want to look at it. Forest of Doom. In Forest of Doom, you have to collect 2 artifacts. If you don't collect both artifacts, by the time you get to the end of the forest, you'll be told to go to the back to the beginning again. And you have to walk around this path around the back, and you have to make a luck roll. And if you're lucky, you're fine. If you're unlucky, an avalanche hits you, you die. So, there we go. But, here's the thing. You cannot, under any circumstances, get both parts on the first go. Because the whole thing branches like a tree. And the 2 parts are separate from each other to the point where it's impossible to go through it in one occasion and get both parts. So you have to do that rotation, which means you go back into the forest, and it gives you this replayability because you do come across certain bits again, and it encourages you to explore because you go, okay, well, last time I did this, I went right, and maybe I should go left this time and see what's down left, because I've got the orb of blah 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 blah, but I don't have the staff of blah 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 blah. So it encouraged me to explore, and it was such a great book for doing that. And it started a whole wave of my classmates of reading choose your own adventure books, which were all the craze back then. And every time we'd go on holiday, I'd get one. Every time we went onto the seaside for the day, I would get one. I mean, I would never ask for anything because there wasn't much to ask for. I mean, I was past heat action figures, but video games weren't a thing back then. Not a big thing anyway. So I would go to the arcades on the seaside, and I'd play a couple of games in the arcade, maybe go on some rides. At the end of the day, if I was a good boy, which I usually was, I'd get a book at the end of the day, and it only cost Mum about a couple of pounds, and they keep me quiet for hours, so she'd love them. So yeah, that's my introduction to role playing and board gaming and gaming in general. I say role playing, but I mean gaming in general, because I still to this day play board games. I still to this day play choose your adventure books because they're good fun, and there's some really good ones coming out. And it's always nice to be nostalgic and go back into the old ones and play the old ones and see if you can complete them, especially without cheating. Apart from Vampires and Mist. Is it Vampires and Mist? Vampire Castle? Either way, that one that's in about the vampire, because that dick cheats. That dick cheats so hard. It's like, you walk into the tomb and some mist rises up. What do you do? Oh, I want to attack it. Do you have a magic sword? No. Then you're kind of boned. When it's like the 3rd room I'm in. You haven't given me a chance to give me a magic sword. What's going on? So yeah, that's my introduction to gaming in general. I think next time I'm going to talk about the first ever actual roleplay game I played. Thanks for your time, guys. Goodbye.